It's been over a year since Donald Trump has not been squatted in the White House, but his stubby, misogynist fingers are still grabbing Americans by their fucking pussy. Now, any hope that the reaction to the leaked draft decision and the Dobbs vs. Jackson's women's health would shame the Republicans on the Supreme Court into not overturning Roe vs. Wade was crushed on Friday. Justice Samuel Alito, a human-shaped incel forum that's crammed into an itchy judicial robe, was determined to make these words the public record. The Constitution does not confer a right to abortion, and Roe and Casey are overruled. Many of the people who watched the Supreme Court closely suspected that it now appears all but certain that the draft decision was probably leaked by a conservative trying to pressure Chief Justice John Roberts into joining the majority opinion. Now, this pressure, if that's what you would want to call it, worked. The decision to strip every American with a working uterus of basic human rights was a 6-3 majority decision. Alito, who had wrote the majority opinion, was appointed by George W. Bush, but make no fucking mistake, this decision will long be remembered as Trump's legacy. It was Trump who tipped the balance of the court so that this decision was possible. It's a fitting thing that the three it's a fitting thing that the three judges appointed by a man who literally led a fascist coup would be the ones to overturn that allowed this to happen and be overturned. The end of Roe isn't just a tragedy for human rights. It's the sure sign, yet, that American democracy is collapsing, and Republicans are securing the ability to force the majority of Americans that keep voting against them to live under minority rule. It's hard to even imagine, or even comprehend, how much this decision is about a malignant minority imposing an authoritarian will on the majority of people. It starts, of course, with how this decision directly contravenes the will of Americans, strong majorities of whom repeatedly espouse, in poll after poll, a belief that Roe should not be overturned. It is also that of the 6 justices who voted to uphold abortion bans, only one, Justice Uncle Clarence, was appointed by a president who won the majority of the vote. Now, both Trump and Bush obtained the White House and the ability to nominate justices because of the archaic, the joke of electoral college system that overweights the votes of the rural whites and that marginalizes the majority of Americans who support reproductive rights. Now, to comprehend this all, and the injustice of it, one of the Trump-appointed judges, Justice Neil Gorsuch, has no right to sit in his seat. He is only there because of Moscow Mitch. Because Moscow Mitch illegally used his power as the then Senate Majority Leader to refuse to hold hearings when President Barack Obama was in office to the court. Instead, he declined Merrick Garland, but put Justice Neil Gorsuch in. Now, instead, in a direct violation of his constitutional duties, Moscow Mitch had held that seat open for a year. Also, that Republicans could install someone who could be counted on to ram through endless amounts of reactionary policies rejected by the American majority that wants a clean environment. They want sensible gun safety regulations, fair labor laws, and the human rights. Now, despite their fancy robes, the Republican justices on the Supreme Court are little more than a bunch of right-wing internet trolling trollers, basically, and they haven't even bothered to hide the fact that, during this session. In a ruling throwing out New York's popular law banning most guns in public, Alito was sneering in his reference to a recent mass shooting in Buffalo, New York, even though 10 people lost their lives. In the same decision, Uncle Thomas writes a defense of loose gun laws that's less coherent than the ramblings of many Breitbart commentators. As in the leaked draft of this Dobbs decision, Alito was doing more of the same, rolling out every dumb anti-choice argument. Why don't you just give it up for adoption? That feminists have debunked endlessly for 5 decades now. It may just be that the Republican justices are fucking lazy and dumb. Or more likely, they know their positions are incoherent and indefensible, but they really don't give a shit. It's all about power, and how Republicans have engineered our government to make sure that their power cannot be taken from them by the voting masses. The sheer lazy stupidity of the decisions is an atheistic choice. A thumb is in the eye of Democrats who keep thinking things like the reason and facts should matter. Now, perhaps the most obnoxious trolling in this lengthy decision, in which both Uncle Thomas and the justice, the rapist Brett Kavanaugh, had to get a word in, and that comes from the rapist Kavanaugh. The nine unelected members of this court do not possess the constitutional authority to override the democratic process and to decree either a pro-life or a pro-choice abortion policy for 330 million people in the world. Now, what a dark joke, pretending to care for the democratic process. If America had a healthy democracy, this wouldn't be fucking happening. None of it would be. The Supreme Court would be stocked with Obama and Al Gore nominees, not Bush and Trump ones. The will of the people to have their basic right to control what happens to their bodies would have been upheld. Now, in a recent dissent of another extremely radical far-right decision handed down by the conservative majority, which basically ends the Fourth Amendment protection for the majority of Americans who live within 100 miles of a border. Justice Sonia Sotomayor had warned that a restless and newly constituted court is ready to destroy everything that most Americans hold dear, and they're forcing an authoritarian set of laws on the public by fiat. Now, instead, this entire Supreme Court term has been one horrible decision after another, with so many attacks on American rights that it's nearly impossible to keep track of all that has been lost. Now, and there is no sign that the restlessness is going to go away. In this concurring opinion on Dobbs, Uncle Thomas openly invites lawsuits to challenge all of this court's substantive due process precedents, which includes Griswold, Lawrence, and Obergefell, I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, i.e., the decisions that secured the right to use birth control, the right to have sex with another consenting adult in the privacy of your home, and the right to marry someone of the same sex. Now, notably, Thomas eluded another decision made with the same set of reasoning, Loving v. Virginia, which legalized interracial marriages like his own, because Uncle Thomas is married to a white woman. Now, but other Republican politicians, most notably Senator Mike Braun of Indiana, have openly noted that this decision is also on the chopping block by the same legal reasoning. Decades of case law that allows Americans to choose when to have sex, when to have babies, and when to marry are now in danger from this restless Republican majority rule. Now, as Justices Sonia Sotomayor, Elena Kagan, and Stephen Breyer write in their dissent, the decision says that from the very moment of fertilization, a woman has no fucking rights to speak of. Notably, women are a majority of Americans. Even on the most basic level, we're witnessing the minority oppression of a majority. This decision runs deeper than that. It's the direct result of a bitter, bigoted minority's long road to seizing all the levers of power so that they can impose an authoritarian agenda on the rest of everyone else. And now January 6th wasn't the end of the fascist revolt against democracy, but we're watching democracy be taken away not just by Proud Boys waving batons, but by conservative justices who hide their grotesque anti-democratic views behind the trappings of the Supreme Court. Now, if you like the video, you can give the video a like and subscribe to my channel, RBW King. You can also hit the notification bell so that you'll be notified when a new video comes out. And if you want to support my work even further, you can donate to my Patreon link, which you can find in the About section of YouTube. And for just as little as a few bucks a month, your donation can help go a long way, and thanks for listening.